think that Monday or Tuesday, when people started calling me, the kids started calling me Lights for Lights Out in high school. So I went home and I begged my mom. I was like, please let me get this Lights Out tattoo. I had a friend of mine to sketch it, what I wanted. I said, showed her. I said, hey, this thing's gonna be big one day. Like, let me get Lights Out. And she looked at me. She said, and she was smoking a cigarette. And this whole room was just, I'm going through. And I'm trying to see her, and she's laying in the bed. I said, Mom, let me get. She said, boy, get the hell out the room. Right? It was the exact word. I said, boy, get the hell out the room. And so every day for 2 weeks straight, every single day. And finally, she said, boy, would you leave it? Okay, all right, let's go get it. And like that, we went to go get it. And I just, always had this, this thing about branding, right, and marketing and kind of, people looked at it back then, it was like self-promotion, right? And it wasn't calling branding back then. It wasn't calling, it was just like you were cocky, like, oh, who this guy? But to me, I just had a thing about branding and doing that, but we just didn't have a name for it back then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's tough because you look at like a Conor McGregor, right, where everybody's just like he's cocky, he's doing his shit, like talking about Dustin Poirier's wife, while his ankle's completely shattered. Everybody's like, what a dick! Like you lost. Like it's like this is not the time to do that. But it's like no, like your mouth is making your millions. Like your fighting game got you here, but your ability to market yourself and promote yourself and say all of this controversial stuff that gets people talking, that's what's made you your money. And that's what's going to continue to make you your money.
Yeah, I know him and Michael Chandler got a fight coming up, but same thing with Michael. When he was with Bellator, he was good. People knew about him in the fight game, but not like he does now. He got to UFC and he said, see you at the top. And it got on that mic, he blew up. And sometimes you got to have this you have to have this self-belief, like beyond belief, like beyond that anybody can imagine that you have. And even if it looks crazy to everybody else, you still have to have it.
Yeah.
And most of the people that are looked at like crazy are the ones that actually go out and do the shit.
Yeah, it's like almost you have to have like respectful arrogance. You don't want to come off as like someone who just thinks they're better than everybody else, but you have to have that self-confidence and you have to have that true self-confidence to bleed through, even though if it looks kind of poor in the eyes of other people, like, oh, that's not how I was raised.
Yeah, and you know what? There's nothing if you're willing to put in the work, right? So you got some people out just running their mouth and self-promoting. You're like, God, dude, shut up. What, you haven't sacked anybody. You haven't knocked anybody out. You haven't, like, come on.
The Grizzlies, like the Memphis Grizzlies.
Yeah, like that is, honestly, that is the perfect analogy with them because they would be the prototype in the dictionary right there about people just talk, and don't back anything up, And so I see nothing wrong with you talking like that if you're willing to put in the work to back it up.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the thing with Conor, right? Like he's done everything at this point in his career. Like he's losing his mojo's, lost his last couple of fights, so it's like okay, maybe you should turn it down a notch. But like you're already a Hall of Fame MMA fighter, right? Where like I feel like I guess the Memphis Grizzlies would be the best example there, where they just talk, and then at some point you gotta do something to back that up. But that's interesting, like. When it comes to the Lights Out nickname, to go back to that, are we talking like straight 4 guys out on stretchers or just like knock the wind out of them? Or
two of the guys left the game and just didn't come back. The other one, so they went out and they got up and was held to the sideline, didn't come back. Other guy, I think I broke his collarbone or something like that, and he was carried out.
So were these like 4 instances where like you're down on one knee, like everybody's just waiting to see what happened?
Oh yeah, there was a bunch of somebody down the ground. There was 4 times.
By like the 3rd time, they're like, "Is that the same kid who did that?
What's going on?
Get him off the field."
And what the funny part about that is the following home game we had. We used to have this basketball court. We walk up the basketball court to the grass, and they were like parents. It's trying to stop me from getting on the field.
That's wild.
Because first of all, they thought the coaches were holding me back for a couple of years, and they thought I was a lot older than what I was, not knowing that I was the youngest really on the team. And so, but that it started to get out there, and then in the press and the Washington Post and Baltimore Sun, when it started to really catch fire, and the media started to call me, and local media and actually national, because it was Washington Post and Baltimore Sun, that was calling me lights out. That's when it kind of picked up.
And I feel like you loved that right away. It's like lights out. That sounds good.
Yeah, because it was you know what it was for me? It was like I get 60 minutes. You know, you see a Leonardo DiCaprio or one of these guys. They like Leo's not walking around talking like the Great Gatsby.
Yeah.
You know, like he's not, but he get that time period to be that person. And for me, it was 60 minutes. It was 4 quarters. I get a chance to be lights out, and that was when the Blue Mohawk came. You know, and the plan and just the whole everything. I was lights out for those 4 quarters. And that to me was the biggest part, because there wasn't a game I didn't walk into where I didn't have a target on my back. I remember the offensive line coach. We were playing Philly at home, and the offensive line coach, Donovan McNabb, was at quarterback, had walked up to me before the game and said, "Sean, let me tell you, I got a lot of respect for you, and I think you're a hell of a player, but you ain't touching Donovan today." They did.
Stupidest thing he could have
No.
done.
It was so. That's what I thought. I said, "Man, I'm gonna tear his. You know, I can't wait. I'm gonna show him, right, dude." I never saw so many formations and so many people block me ever. I couldn't believe it. It was just like they didn't care who else made a play. They didn't care what else happened. They wanted to make sure I didn't. Yeah. And the whole time when he told me that, I said, "I don't watch. And they were motioning guys, hitting me before they get out in their routes, the tight ends. And then when I beat the tight end, the running back came and chop blocked me. When I beat him, the offensive tackle stood there. I said, this is for 4 quarters. For 4 quarters, they didn't let this happen. And actually, when I was about to break the sack record at home at the end of the year, we were playing Arizona, and Kurt Warner was at quarterback. And they all knew that I was on the lines of the sack record. And I didn't know this till years after everything happened, because I was friends with Larry Fitzgerald. And they had Leonard Davis on the front line. By the way, one of the biggest damn human beings I ever saw in my life. And the same thing, they said they wanted to make sure that I did not get that sack record. And if you look at when I hit Kurt Warner, look at that one play and watch how many people tried to block me on that one play. They blocked me, they cut blocked me, so I hopped him and I jumped off 1 foot and I got Kurt Warner.
That's a shame you didn't get the straight hand treatment when Brett Favre just was like,
oh, hell
sit
no.
down real quick.
Hell no. Nobody was falling for me. They wanted to make, because you know why? This is the truth. They wanted to make sure I didn't do that damn lights out dance.